relationship is both purifying and liberating. Such knowledge is the fruit of selfless devotional service. That's karma yoga. The Lord explains the remote history of the Gita, the purpose and significance of his periodic descents to the material world, and the necessity of approaching Guru, a realized teacher. So that's like a summary. Okay, first verse. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Imam Vivasvate Yogam Proktavan Aham Avyayam Vivasvan Manave Praha Manorikshvakave Brave. The personality of Godhead Lord Sri Krishna said, I instructed this imperishable science of yoga to the sun god Vivasvan. Vivasvan instructed to Manu, the father of mankind, and Manu in turn instructed it to Ikshvaku. So Krishna was speaking about lust. So why all of a sudden he has begun talking about giving this knowledge to Vivasvan and all this?
Because he was telling about that the power of lust.
Hmm.
And maybe so Lord is trying to explain, like, because if someone is speaking about something, then he should be above that.
Hmm.
So like because Arjuna might be thinking, you are my friend, who is with me.
Mm-hmm.
How are you above this?
Okay, not a bad guess. Somebody else wants to try? Hmm. Hmm?
Head to Arjun.
Giving more faith to Arjun. Okay. And hmm?
It's not easy to overcome lust.
Hmm.
So the only way, like he says, Janam karma cha me divyam evam yoveti tattvata. So if he has to tell that he is the ultimate, then he has to lay the foundation. Like, so he's telling the history. This is not the first time this knowledge, and
Okay.
ultimately he'll tell the Janam karma cha me divyam.
Okay. Ravi?
Puji, in last chapter 43 verse, is mentioned, one should steady the mind by deliberate spiritual intelligence, and this intelligence strengthened by this knowledge, and therefore this.
Okay. Okay. Okay, one last one.
Indriyani Pararahur. So this series he's going, and he told about at the end you have to Evam Buddhi Atmanatmanam. So telling that you have to situate in oneself. So beyond that, there is a about Krishna. So he must be telling about in that sequence.
Okay. Good. Since you have the mic, read the first paragraph of the purport.
Herein we find the history of Bhagavad Gita traced from a remote time when it was delivered to the royal order of all planets, beginning from the sun planet. The kings of all planets are especially meant for the protection of inhabitants, and therefore the royal order should understand the science of Bhagavad Gita in order to be able to rule the citizens and protect them from material bondage to lust.
Okay, you understood?
Oh.
What is the reason why Krishna is speaking? What is the reason? That is the duty of
royal order.
Yes, the Rajarishis. The duty of the Rajarishis is to help the citizens control lust. So that is why Krishna has begun speaking about the Rajarishis and how this knowledge was given to the Rajarishis. Otherwise, Arjuna may think that how is this relevant for me? So therefore, Krishna is saying, I spoke this knowledge to the Rajarishis. You are also Rajarishi. And so therefore, you should understand this knowledge to protect the citizens from lust. Okay, go ahead.
Human life is meant for cultivation of spiritual knowledge in eternal relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the executive heads of all states and all planets are obliged to impart these lessons to the citizens by education, culture, and devotion. In other words, the executive heads of all states are intended to spread the science of Krishna consciousness so that the people may take advantage of this great science and pursue a successful path, utilizing the opportunity of the human form of life.
Right. So this is the duty of the executive heads of all states. They're supposed to teach the students and the citizens what? Education, culture, and devotion. Hmm. So I think so. This concept of base came from here. Culture and education. Hmm. Hmm? हाँ वो बाद में आ गया, वॉइस बाद में आ गया, पहले बेस था. And then Srila Prabhupada describes the history. He's talking about sun god and the duration. So he's giving that whole calculation. When the knowledge was first spoken to Vivaswan, how many years. So all that is giving. Almost towards the end of the purport, Prabhupada writes, so this Gita has been extant for 2 million years. And it was re-spoken by the Lord again to Arjuna about 5,000 years ago. That is the rough estimate of the history of the Gita, according to the Gita itself and according to the version of the speaker, Lord Sri Krishna. It was spoken to the sun god Vivaswan because he is also Kshatriya and is the father of all Kshatriyas who are descendants of the sun god or the Surya Vamsha Kshatriyas. Because Bhagavad Gita is as good as the Vedas, being spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, this knowledge is apaurushaya, superhuman. Okay, so the Gita must be accepted without mundane interpretation. Okay, next verse. Okay, this is Vishnu chapter. Okay, read this.
Connection between chapter 3 and chapter 4. Chapter 3 discussed how lust covers knowledge and how ignorance binds us with our own attachments. Krishna recommended dutiful detached work, Nishkama Karma, as a means to attain transcendental knowledge. In these first two verses, Krishna will describe how transcendental knowledge is received.
Right. So even sitting in the classroom, you can understand that your eyes are not perfect. So that's what Prabhupada says. You can't even see things properly. And people say, show me God. What one can see. So this is another connection. So in the previous chapter, Krishna spoke about Nishkam Karma Yoga. And as we have discussed here, Nishkam Karma Yoga leads to Gyan. And so therefore he is describing Gyan in this chapter. Text 2. Evam parampara praptam imam rajarshayo viduhu sakalineha mahata yogo nashta parantapa. The supreme science was thus received through the chain of disciplic succession, and the saintly kings understood it in that way. But in course of time, the succession was broken, and therefore the science as it is appears to be lost. Purport.
It is clearly stated that the Gita was especially meant for the saintly kings because they were to execute its purpose in ruling over the citizens. Certainly, Bhagavad Gita was never meant for the demonic persons who would dissipate its value for no one's benefit and would devise all types of interpretations according to personal whims. As soon as the original purpose was scattered by the motives of the unscrupulous commentators, there arose the need to re-establish the disciplic succession. 5,000 years ago, it was detected by the Lord himself that the disciplic succession was broken, and therefore he declared that the purpose of Gita appeared to be lost. In the same way, at the present moment also, there are so many editions of Gita, especially in English, but almost all of them are not according to authorized disciplic succession. There are innumerable interpretations rendered by different mundane scholars, but almost all of them do not accept the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, although they make a good business on the words of Sri Krishna. This spirit is demoniac because demons do not believe in God but simply enjoy the property of the Supreme. Since there is a great need of an edition of Gita in English, as it is received by the Parampara, disciplic succession system, an attempt is made herewith to fulfill this great want. Bhagavad Gita, accepted as it is a great boon to humanity But if it is accepted as a treatise of philosophical speculations, it is simply a waste of time.
So Krishna is saying that initially he gave to sun god, so there was a parampara going on, but then now that parampara has been broken. Sakaliniha mahata yogo nashta. So the parampara was broken. Why the parampara was broken? Huh? So what's the problem? Long time. The main cause was wrong interpretations. As Prabhupada writes, that as soon as the original purpose was scattered by the motives of the unscrupulous commentators, there arose the need to re-establish the disciplic succession. 5,000 years ago, it was detected by the Lord himself that the disciplic succession was broken. And therefore, he declared that the purpose of the Gita appeared to be lost. So why the parampara gets broken? Yes, because of wrong interpretations. That is how the parampara gets broken. So this is the tendency of the mind under the influence of Rajogun. Later on we will see in the 18th chapter, Krishna speaks about knowledge in Rajogun. So in Rajogun, what happens? Rajogun, a lot of activity goes on. Okay? That is passion, a lot of activity. So either gross or subtle. So because of the influence of the mode of passion on the mind, the result is speculation. The result of Rajogun on the mind is speculation. So speculations, misinterpretations, all these are the influence of Rajogun. And so therefore in the material world, not unusual, isn't it? Not unusual. Because Rajogun is very prominent in the material world. And so therefore then each one comes out with his own interpretations. Fertile brain, as Prabhupada says, very fertile, to come up with so many interpretations. And therefore Prabhupada writes, before he wrote this Gita, how many editions? Yeah, some 600, 700 editions of the Gita. Where are all of them? We don't know really. Prabhupada writes 600, 700. अच्छा कहाँ पर है? They're there in the bookstore. अच्छा हाँ अच्छा अच्छा My way is highway. So you people are quite up to date, huh? हाँ अच्छा अच्छा. So what he wrote that Kurukshetra is body and Krishna is doctor. Actually, Prabhupada says in one lecture, Prabhupada says in one lecture, somebody misinterpreted Gita saying that it is like conversation between physician and patient. Correct. Uh-huh. Hmm. Sure. Mm-hmm. So people just don't know what is right, what is wrong, anything. See, they have speculated. So, and these people's mind likes the speculation. So very nice. Why very nice? My mind says it's nice. Who's the authority? Mind. So we find that so many misinterpretations, all based on influence of Rajogun on the mind. And so this tendency is very strong. This tendency is very strong to come up with new interpretations, release something new. Prabhupada quotes one Bengali saying, one Bengali saying Prabhupada says, which means that Kichu Nutan, something like that. Kichu Nutan karo. Do something new. So, if you do something new, then somebody will recognize, na? If you do the same old thing, who will recognize? Do something new, speak something new. Of course, Prabhupada, he spoke about the Westerners. He said, this is a problem with you Westerners. You always want to do something new, always want to change something. So in any case, this tendency is very strong due to influence of Rajagun. And so therefore, Srila Prabhupada again and again emphasized what? Don't change anything. Don't add. Don't subtract. How many times he keeps emphasizing? Just repeat. We see, even after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu disappeared from this world, how many Upper Sampradayas? 13 are recorded. Bona fide Upper Sampradayas. So that's what happened after Mahaprabhu disappeared. So therefore, it is very important that if we want the parampara to continue as it is, then it is a great responsibility to do what? What? Yes, not change. Keep things as it is. Otherwise, what will happen is after some years, something new only will come out. Only title will remain. Inside something else only. That's what people have done. Na? Bhagavad Gita title is there, but inside is something else only. And then after some years, people will wonder, oh, there was something like that also. So Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur told the story of Sargal Singh. You know the story of Sargal Singh? Sargal Singh. वो सरनेम होता है ना सिंह. वो सिंह. Anybody heard? Nobody heard the story? Sargal Singh was a very famous man. Okay, so Sushmit knows the story, I think. You know? Okay, anyway. Maybe if I begin the story, you'll know it. So there was, so one day in the village, one man was mourning. So he was very sad, he was crying. So another passerby of the village, he asked, so what happened? So the man said, you don't know? Sargal Singh has died. अभी याद आ गया ना? You want to complete the story? So you are afraid a new story will come out. So the man had shaved his head. When somebody dies, they shave, no? So the man shaved his head. So the passerby who asked, why are you mourning? Oh, Sargal Singh has died. So he also shaved. So then third person, he asked the second person, hey, what happened? Why you shaved? You don't know? Very famous person, Sargal Singh has died. So like that, the whole village shaved up and were mourning that Sargal Singh has died. So then finally the king or whoever was the in charge of the village. So the minister also shaved up. So the king asked the minister, Are Baba, what happened? So the minister said, Oh, you didn't hear? What? Sargal Singh has died. Who is this Sargal Singh? Minister, I don't know. They said this very famous man, Sargal Singh, has died. Are Baba, but who is he? Ujjwal Prabhu, you know who is? So then the minister asked the person who gave him the news, and he went and asked the previous person, the previous person, the previous person. And in this way, finally, the first person who was mourning, so they went and asked him, Are Baba, you are mourning that Sargal Singh has died. But can you please tell us who is this Sargal Singh? So the man said, Oh, that is my donkey, Gada. सबको गधा बना दिया. So in this way, so when information is passed around from one person to the other, it's also called as the Chinese whisper. So one person tells another person, he tells a third person, and in this way it goes around. And then after some time, that becomes fact. And what was the original thing or who started it all? That's all forgotten. And after some years, then this new information becomes fact. And in this way, many religious systems have degraded. Many religious systems have degraded. Like even Swaminarayan, once I'd gone there, so I was seeing their books, their history. So the original person who started the whole thing, he was a Ramanandi, a sect of the Sri Sampradaya. So he was a Vaishnava. But now, they made the Swami into Narayan. And you only see his big statue in their temple, correct? That's what. You see in Akshardham, Delhi? So right in the middle, huge deity. And there's no Vishnu, Narayan, Krishna, nobody is there. So that's what, it has totally degraded into Mayavad. I heard that there is this organization called as Salvation Army. So that's also some sect, some branch of the Christians. So they're supposed to propagate Christianity. But now the only thing they do is social service. That's all. So, and that's what happens to most Mayavadi organizations. That Prabhupada says very openly. So Mayavadis don't get any Brahmananda. So then when they don't get Brahmananda, they think, let us get some Ananda somewhere. So then Manav Seva hai, Madhav Seva hai. That is what they come back to. And that's what most of them do. And then that's what is glorified. Oh, so much social service. The original spirituality is totally lost. So we have to understand that these are the threats to religious movements if one is not careful. And therefore, the spirituality aspect always has to be there in the center. And therefore, long back, there was a discussion about food for life with His Holiness Jayadvaita Swami Maharaj. And so Maharaj was very firm on this point that we are not here to distribute free food. That is not our business. And if at all, of course, Srila Prabhupada himself started it. But then Prabhupada's program was, it always has to be accompanied by the chanting of the holy names. Without that, we are not doing some mundane philanthropic work. So it was good that they started some chanting down there. This is how degradation happens. If the spirituality is not in the center, something else becomes the center. Because it's true, it's a fact. It's because most people are in ignorance, then social welfare activities, philanthropic activities are given predominance. Why? Because they're all on the bodily platform. And most people are on the bodily platform. So then activities done on the bodily platform are glorified. So that's what the Bhagavatam second canto says, right? Dogs, hogs, camels, and asses, they glorify bigger dogs, hogs, camels, and asses. So then that's what happens. So and then one thinks, oh, if we do these activities, we'll get a lot of funds. But what are we here for? For funds or for pleasing Krishna? What's our goal? This is how, when the goal is not in focus, deviations take place. So in one anniversary of the Bhaktivedanta Hospital, His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj was speaking about the history of the hospital. And he was telling that how Maharaj very much wanted that spiritual care department as the most important, vital focus of the entire hospital. But then all the doctors were busy with their basic practices and nobody took it up seriously. And Maharaj was insisting, no, this is the most important part. And then he says that how then later on Krishna Chandra Prabhu took it up. And that's how then that entire spiritual care department started, and that was the focus. So that's very important. In all our activities, the spirituality has to be the center, has to be the focus. Otherwise, things will degrade to a mundane platform. And that degradation is very easy and very fast. That doesn't take much time. For degradation to take place in Kali Yuga, that's natural. It's just like water. Naturally, where it flows? Down. So for degradation to happen in Kali Yuga, it's very easy, very simple. But to not allow that degradation to take place requires what? Yes, requires a lot of efforts, because it's like swimming against the currents. Swimming against the currents requires a lot of effort. And Srila Prabhupada in one lecture, he says, in this advanced age, I'm traveling all over the world so many times just to see that my disciples are properly following the standards. And that's what Prabhupada would do. Wherever he would go, that's what Prabhupada would be doing, to see if the standards are being properly followed. And any slight deviation, Prabhupada would be right there to set things on track. Wherever Prabhupada would go, he would see the deity standards, what they're offering to the deities. His Holiness Hridayananda Maharaj, he tells this pastime of how here in 1975, he invited Srila Prabhupada to South America. South American preaching had really boomed, so many devotees. So Srila Prabhupada arrived at the airport. Hridayananda Maharaj picked him up. He was sitting in the car. And he began to talk about his preaching in Brazil, South America, and yes, Mexico. So much of preaching, so much of book distribution. Books have been translated into Spanish language. All that he was telling. And Prabhupada was absolutely silent. He was not saying anything. So Hridayananda Maharaj was thinking, why? Usually Prabhupada would be very happy hearing book distribution scores and books translated on this, but Prabhupada was very silent. They reached the temple. It was noon time. Srila Prabhupada immediately asked for Rajbhog Prasadam. So the Rajbhog plate was brought to Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada, he just tasted a little bit. And Prabhupada was furious. He said, what are you offering? This is not fit. I don't know if he said it in this instance, but there are other instances where Prabhupada tasted dog's food. You know, Prabhupada, he right from the airport, he could smell that. So the point is that that was how Srila Prabhupada, wherever he went, he was very mindful, and he was always looking for how the standards are being followed, whether the proper standards are being followed. There are other places where Srila Prabhupada went, they were offering some things. So in Los Angeles, Srila Prabhupada once asked for the morning sweets. And they had made laddus with puffed rice, mudi or gur ka laddu for the morning sweets, 4 o'clock. So as soon as Prabhupada saw that, he said, what is this? I never taught you this. Morning sweets means rasgulla, sandesh, rasmalai. This is what is meant to be offered. I never taught you this. Where did you learn this from? So the point is that if one is not careful, degradation is very easy. Very easy. That's the natural flow. To prevent it requires a lot of efforts. And then this is what happens. What? Evam parampara. The parampara will be lost. The potency of the parampara will be lost. And therefore, now, who is meant to safeguard the parampara? Huh? Say that a little louder. Huh? So only the leaders are supposed to do. The followers can do anything. But then the point is, everyone has to understand that it is whose responsibility? Our responsibility. Now, how much that poor leader will keep shouting? How much he can do? So definitely the leader's responsibility to see that things are being properly followed. But ultimately it is our responsibility within the organization to see that the parampara is being taken ahead properly. It is our responsibility. And therefore, the goal must be very clear. There are quite a few lectures where Prabhupada would say, we are not after vox populi. You know vox populi? What is that? Popular vote. Popular votes. We are not after that. So, other lectures Prabhupada says, we are not interested in pleasing the public. We are interested in pleasing Krishna. Public may like it or not like it. We are interested in pleasing Krishna. If you please Krishna, then the public will be taken care of. So this was Prabhupada's mood. And so therefore, the goal must be clear. We are not simply after, of course, definitely we want to preach and help the public, but not at the cost of displeasing Krishna. Not at that cost, displeasing the Acharya. So there's one article which one of Srila Prabhupada's disciples had written. Actually, I have it somewhere. Maybe I can share it. So in that he writes, so while giving a class, we should present Srila Prabhupada and Prabhupada's message. Now, not that I have to present my special class. Not that I have to portray myself as the hero. I'm going to release something fantastic. No. No. We are simply supposed to repeat the message of the parampara. And that is what is going to please Guru and Krishna. And when Guru and Krishna are pleased, there'll be potency in the preaching. How many times Srila Prabhupada he says this? Many people say, Swamiji, you have done some miraculous work. And then what Prabhupada says? Prabhupada says, what miracle? I didn't do any miracle. If there's any credit, the only credit is, I have simply repeated the words of my Guru Maharaj. I did not adulterate the message. I did not misinterpret. I did not adulterate. That's all. So therefore, if we are thinking, see, usually the tendency is to always think of prayers. Turant kya milega? So one is always thinking about immediate results. Immediate results. So somehow try to impress the people, get a few people in. One is think of immediate results. But the Acharya, he is not thinking about immediate results. He's thinking about the future, long term. And that's how we should follow in the footsteps of the Acharya. And if we want to follow, then yes, then we have to follow in Prabhupada's footsteps. Simply repeat the message. That's all. And that is how we will keep the parampara as it is. And Srila Prabhupada very often used the phrase for the spiritual master, that the spiritual master should be a transparent via medium. Transparent via medium. So the moment we introduce our own concoctions and speculations, what are we doing? Yes, we are reducing the transparency. We are reducing the transparency. Then what happens? The message is coming from Krishna, but then we put what? Obstacles in the flow of mercy. We put obstacles in the flow of mercy by introducing our own concoctions. And then what comes out may be titillating to the mind and the intelligence, but it will not have spiritual potency. It won't have spiritual potency. Many followers may come. Prabhupada, again, so many times, Prabhupada says, if I had compromised, I would have got millions of followers. But my Guru Maharaj didn't compromise, and I don't compromise. That was Prabhupada's policy. And that's what he expected, others also. Not to compromise. And so this is a very important point that Krishna is speaking about here. So if we want the purity of the parampara, the potency of the parampara to continue as it is, then keeping everything as it is without deviations and misinterpretations is very important. And therefore, to avoid this phenomenon of the Sargal Singh story or the Chinese whisper, in fact, during Prabhupada's time, Shrutikirti Prabhu tells, right during Prabhupada's time, so once Shrutikirti Prabhu heard something from a devotee, and that devotee said, Prabhupada said such and such thing. So anyway, Shrutikirti Prabhu had easy access to Prabhupada. He was personal servant. So he thought, let me check. So he went and asked Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, this devotee says you said something like this. Prabhupada said, no, I never said. So right in the presence of Srila Prabhupada, people were already concocting some new things and putting the stamp of Srila Prabhupada. These tendencies are very strong. Because the tendency is what? To promote my idea. And how to get authorization? Put the stamp of the Acharya. Prabhupada said. Same mentality Prabhupada is talking about. You use Krishna's words and put your own words. Then it gets authorized. Oh, it's there in the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna said. No, Krishna never said. You are saying. So all these tendencies are there. And so therefore, it is very important that it is our responsibility to see that the parampara is taken ahead as it is. And as we were saying, in order to avoid this Chinese whisper phenomenon, if we hear something unauthorized, we are not sure, two things can be done. We hear from a speaker or from someone, something which I've never heard, I don't know the authenticity. One of two things can be done. What are they? Yes, Sudhanshu.
First of all, check with other superiors who have some good knowledge of the scriptures and have perfectly read Srila Prabhupada's books. If we could check with them about the authenticity of that particular.
Yes. So first of all, we could check. Of course, if possible, we can check with the person who has given us that, who has spoken that. The very person who has spoken it, we can ask him only, what is your reference? Or if we are shy to do that, we can check with others. Okay, so if the person doesn't know the authenticity of what he has said, then what's the second thing we can do?
Second thing is either we can confirm it from other superiors, or at least time being, we should not speak that unless it is confirmed.
Correct. At least we should not do the disservice of repeating it. Because I heard it, if I repeat it to another 50 people, what will happen? Before that, what will happen? What those 50 people will do? Yes, each one will repeat to another 50 people. You see how it will spread? And then after some days, that will be authorized. For this, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur told another story. You can think of any other story to illustrate this? Give the mic to him.
So actually, Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur tells this story. There is a Bengali proverb, "Das chakre Bhagavan Bhut." So that story
You are
says,
Bengali?
yes. So that one person, one minister was there for a king. His name was Bhagavan. So he was very, very intelligent. So other minister envied him. So one day they hatched a plot. They kind of arrested Bhagavan, and they could not let him enter the king's palace. So then the king was asking, where is Bhagavan? He did not come to the assembly today. So they all told that he has died. So king thought that, okay, he has died. Then the Bhagavan wanted to come inside many times, but he was told not that no, you cannot enter. So he was there in his home. So he was waiting for the day when king will come out of the palace. He will go in the chariot. Then he will like somehow show himself. So one day king was coming out, and then these ministers also was there with him, and they saw that Bhagavan is climbing on the top of a tree to show the king that I am existing. I have not died yet. So then they knew that he is going to anyways out. So before only they told that actually he has died, but sometimes his ghost is also roaming around. So when the king saw him, he thought that it was a ghost of Bhagavan. So he did not take notice. So because many people told that Bhagavan has died, so it was almost that Bhagavan actually has died.
Correct. Confirm. Yes. So this is one story. And there's also another story which Srila Prabhupada also says. There was this man who was having a goat. Bolu, Shumru. Who knows this? Bolu.
Actually, one priest, Karmakandi priest was there. He was given a goat by the Jajman. So he was carrying that goat and coming, and then there were three thieves. They were wanting to usurp that. Yeah. So they had a plot that three of us will stand in strategic position, different places after 2-3 kilometers. And we'll ask him the same question: that why are you carrying that dog with you? So the first person asked that why are you carrying that dog? Then he said that no, it's not a dog, it's a goat. He saw also. Then he went. The next person asked the same question. Then he got a little doubt. Then he very carefully saw that I'm really carrying a dog. So no, it's a goat only. Second, he was carrying the third person. When he asked after long time, then he was convinced that somehow it's some problem with me. I am unable to see. It's a dog only. So he left that.
Right. So this is what happens when same thing is repeated by many people, even though it may be a wrong thing, after some time that becomes fact. So the important point is we have to be extremely careful. So unless we know the authenticity of someone, of something that we hear, at least if we don't know the reference, better is don't repeat it. Don't repeat it. Just because something is impressive, just because something is impressive to people, tendency is there, right? I hear something which is making people laugh and very interesting. Tendency is what? Oh, I'll also repeat it. Then what will happen? I will also become popular. This tendency is there. But then we're doing a great disservice if that is not authentic. That is how we introduce wrong things in the parampara. And therefore, if we don't know reference, better we don't speak it. I don't know. Simple as that. So therefore, Srila Prabhupada, he was so particular about this, and some lectures Prabhupada says, just repeat like parrots. Just repeat like parrots. Yes, that's safe. We don't have to show ourselves as big pundits and scholars and try to impress people. Our goal is not to impress people. We'll impress people for some time. They will clap their hands and go away. That's all. But if we want real preaching to take place where people's hearts are transformed, then the real substance has to be given. So yesterday I was hearing Prabhupada's lecture. Prabhupada is quoting his Guru Maharaj, and he's saying, my Guru Maharaj, he said, why should you go and flatter rich people for wealth? You please Krishna, wealth will come. So this was the mode of our acharyas. And therefore, right in the preface, what did Srila Prabhupada write? The last sentence of the preface of this Bhagavad Gita? Yes, even if one person becomes pure devotee, I consider that the success. That means what? Quality. Prabhupada was not interested in quantity, quality. And when the quality is there, quantity will come. But the first thing is quality. How to please Krishna. That is the. Okay, so we spent good time on this because this is a very important point, especially in the present age, where so much of information is just floating around. Everywhere, so much of information. With the press of a few buttons, there is volumes of information. So in this age, one has to be very careful. Yes, Vishnu?
Many times in current scenario, we see in the name of public relations, so many things are going on which are like Prabhupada has not told, something like that. So, and we don't have that much authoritative power also, so that we can stop all those things, even in the moment itself. So, how we should, what should be our vision to such things?
We do things within our circle of influence. What is within our circle of concern? We can express the concern to those who are responsible.
But people in general ask the question, na, आपके संस्था में ऐसा हो रहा है. Suppose something happens, say, for an XYZ place. So now because we are a one unit, so people in Pune will ask us कि आपके संस्था में देखिए ऐसा हो रहा है.
So if I don't know what is the authoritative answer, then we can tell them, I'll let you know. Then we consult our authorities, and then whatever answer they give, that is what we have to do. So many, there's an international society, so many things may happen in so many different places, so many people may do so many things. We have no control over all that. Correct. But one thing we definitely have control over. What is that?
Keep
most control I have over
Ours.
myself. Myself. That much we can control, correct? Maybe we cannot control anybody else, but one person we can control, and that is myself. So if every self thinks about doing the right thing, then what will happen? Then everyone will get transformed. If every self thinks of doing the right thing, then so many selves constitute the movement. So therefore, even Srila Prabhupada quoted Mahatma Gandhi, what? Be the change that you want to see in the world. So let the change begin from myself. Then slowly everything will get transformed. And of course, we can express concerns or we can consult our authorities, fine. All right? Okay.
From many seniors, those who are on the very experienced.
Before you speak now, I think you are sitting in a place which is uh, uh, where the sunlight of Krishna is not entering. So maybe you can make some change about that. ठीक है, पूछो.
Many seniors, those who are very seriously practiced and they are very far from us in Krishna consciousness. Advanced.
अच्छा, how many kilometers?
10 years more, or 10 years, 20 years.
Okay. And I don't bother about how many kilometers, all that. What's your question?
So when we hear from them that this Prabhupada, if whatever in the Krishna, whatever Prabhupada books are there, that is not sufficient to give us that rasa point, the rasa, that thing.
What
Then-
ras you want? Amras? What ras you want?
No, to continue in our life.
So what ras is required? What is that ras? I want to know what is that ras, so that I also can get some ras.
That I don't know, but
Then
they
why
say,
talk about it?
because of they say that because of that only many devotees left, because they are not. So we fear what to do. Just like we were speaking about parampara, we have to stick with parampara. But when we speak from higher people, that they are saying that there is something missing here.
Acha.
So how we should keep faith and move forward.
So what is this higher? What is this missing? What is the rasa? You're speaking very mystically.
I don't know about anything, but
If you don't know, then why discuss?
that faith become little bit disturbed because we are hearing from senior and some
So,
people.
As far as my knowledge goes, whoever has been speaking here, Bhagavatam class here, I don't think so. I ever heard from anyone speaking about some higher rasa and this. I don't think so. Anybody was speaking. Then from whom are you hearing this higher rasa?
Many devotees go in different commentaries to get that, other than Prabhupada. So that I'm saying, that point. That I have heard from my spiritual master that Prabhupada books are sufficient, take us back to God and all. But
what? You heard from your spiritual master, but what?
many people leave because of not like that.
So you have faith in your spiritual master or you have faith in some other people?
Spiritual master.
Then what's the problem?
But in mind it will come because it is passing.
That is the whole problem with the mind. That's the problem with the mind. So therefore the Shastra is saying how to control the mind. This is beautiful verse. This is 5th canto, 12th or 13th chapter, last verse. If I'm not mistaken, it is 12th chapter. So anyway, so there it is said, the way to control the mind, two things Prabhupada explains. One thing is, very powerful weapon to control the mind is neglect. Neglect. That is first point. And second point, which the verse says is, Hari Guru Charana Upasana Astra. This is the way to control the mind. This is Astra. Astra. Astra means weapon. So what is the weapon to control the mind? Be fixed in what? Hari Guru Charana Upasana. If we are fixed at the lotus feet of Hari and Guru, so even though the mind is talking so many things, so you yourself are saying, my spiritual master said this. That is what we have to hammer. The spiritual master said this, then why the mind is going somewhere else? So I think so. I told that incident here, no? One college boy, initiated devotee, he told, no? What? So this is what? This is the cheating of the mind. This is cheating of the mind. So the mind knows, if I ask my spiritual master, he will not allow. So better what? Don't ask. This is how the mind cheats. So therefore, the Shastra is saying the solution to this deceptive mind is, so you have to hammer the mind. That's in the same purport, Prabhupada quotes Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, that the way to control the mind is every morning, beat the mind with brooms and night with shoes. So this is the beating of the mind. Beating of the mind is what? Remind the mind. This is the instruction of Guru. This is the instruction of Krishna. This is the beating. That is why every morning and evening, Prabhupada introduced morning what? Bhagavatam class, evening Bhagavad Gita class, and night Krishna book. This is the beating of the mind. So we have to remind ourselves what Shastra is saying, what Guru is saying every day. Beat the mind. This is what Shastra is saying. This is what Guru is saying. What nonsense you're talking? So this is how the mind tricks. So one should have faith. Yasya deve bara bhakti, yata deve tadha guru, tasyeta katithai artha prakashante mahatmana. So one has to have full faith in words of Guru and Krishna. So Guru is saying, no need, then why think of something else? What is the need? So if there are doubts, then ask the Guru. But in any case, we have to be convinced of this fact that Srila Prabhupada has given us everything to achieve full perfection. So many people may say so many things, the mind may say so many things, but we have to be convinced on the basis of Shastra. First of all, can we confidently say that we have scrutinizingly studied all of Prabhupada's books? We have not done this, then what adhikar we have to go somewhere else? Anyway, we already discussed that point, no? Chutney. How many times we keep talking about chutney? That is our principle. So occasionally, little bit reference, fine. But our main focus always has to be Srila Prabhupada's books. All right?
What is the criteria of an acharya to implement this disciplic succession knowledge with the time, and place? We see that Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, so many 64 or something, I don't know. But then one acharya like Srila Prabhupada is coming, and then with time, what means? Is there any criteria what he can change? like, he included like 16 rounds.
Okay, so that's a whole big discussion. Hopefully, it will be discussed in the Nectar of Devotion. But anyway, Rupa Goswami makes the point clear. There are principles and there are details. Principles cannot be changed, only details can be changed. Okay. So anyway, that discussion is later on. But anyway, the point is the Acharya knows what can be changed, what cannot be changed. The Acharya knows. And so we simply have to follow that. Okay, fine. Let's go ahead now. Third verse. Sa evayam mayatya yoga prokta puratanaha bhakto sime saka cheti rahasyam etaduttamam. That very ancient science of the relationship with the Supreme is today told by me to you because you are my devotee as well as my friend and can therefore understand the transcendental mystery of this science. So here Krishna is telling Arjuna, I'm giving you this knowledge because of two qualifications. What are they? Bhakta and Sakha. And he's saying, because you have these qualifications, I'm giving you this Puratana, this very ancient knowledge. I'm giving it to you so that you can understand the Rahasyam. Rahasya means mystery. And of course, later on, Krishna talks about Guhyatamam, most confidential. So, how many Bhagavad Gitas have been distributed in the world so far? How much? Total? 60 crore Prabhupada books. So, where is the Rahasya? 60 crore books have been distributed. Then where is Rahasya? Huh? Reveal the Rahasya.
The knowledge which is given in Bhagavad Gita, it's revealed. It cannot be just read and understood. But as per the submissiveness of the candidate, submissiveness to the parampara, and if he's really eager and non-envious.
So, what is it that is mysterious, Rahasya, secret? What is it?
Pure devotional process, how actually the connection with the Supreme can be established in a real way, how it is to be understood in a perfect way, and how we need to follow it. That is the real mystery, which can be understood only if you are non-envious and if you are following the parampara.
As Srila Prabhupada himself has written, we have read both in the preface, introduction, many places. So many people have read the Gita. What is their conclusion? So many people have come to so many different conclusions. Some have concluded that Karma Yoga is supreme. Somebody has concluded that Jnana Yoga is supreme. Somebody has concluded that social service is supreme. So many conclusions after reading Bhagavad Gita. But Prabhupada says, before this Bhagavad Gita as it is, after reading the Gita, not one person became devotee. That means what? That means the Rahasya remained Rahasya. That's why nobody became devotee. So it requires a pure devotee like Srila Prabhupada to unravel the mystery and hammer in every verse, every purport, surrender to Krishna, chant the holy names. That is the mystery. And Prabhupada has given that mystery in every verse. Just like Sripad Ramanacharya was told by spiritual master Goshtipuna, I'm giving you a very confidential mantra. Don't tell anyone. Keep it mystery. But then what Ramacharya did. He told everyone. And that's exactly what Prabhupada did. Krishna is saying it is rahasya, very confidential, mystery. Prabhupada wrote it in every sentence, every purport Prabhupada has written. What is the mystery? And we see that. That's what happened. Whether people understand Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, or anything of those technical details, one thing they understand. I have to surrender to Krishna and chant the holy names. But that mystery is a revelation. Simply by reading the verses of Gita, one cannot get it. One cannot get it. Only when one is non-envious. So later on, 9th chapter, 1st verse, Krishna says, because you're non-envious, therefore I'm giving you this knowledge. So Bhakta and Sakha will have that quality of non-enviousness. It's very simple. If I envy someone and that person is talking about his own glories, how will I feel? Will I accept? No. This fellow is so proud, he's talking about his own glories. And whole Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is doing that. He's talking about his own glories. So somebody who's envious, as Prabhupada says so many places, so somebody who's envious, he thinks, Arey, this Krishna is so proud, he's glorifying himself. I will throw him out of the Gita. So that's what Prabhupada says so many places. Envious people, what they try to do? Kill Krishna. Like Kamsa, always trying to kill Krishna. So the envious persons, they use Bhagavad Gita, but their motive is how to kill Krishna. So therefore, Krishna is saying, I'm giving this knowledge to you. So the more we are non-envious, the more we are in the mood of Bhakto Sime Sakha, then we can actually understand the knowledge of the Gita. Please read Prabhupada's lecture.
Bhakto sime sakha cheti rahasyam hi etaduttamam. Now you can think that when Krishna was present 5,000 years before, there were many big scholars learned. Even Vyasdev was present. And not only Vyasdev, there were others also, great scholars, great sages. The purpose of this yoga system is now lost. And because it is lost, therefore I instruct you to understand this system of yoga. Why to me? I'm not a scholar. Arjuna was a military man, warrior. He was a Kshatriya, not even a Brahmana, not a Vedantist, nothing of that sort. He knew how to fight only, that's all. That was his qualification. But Krishna wanted to teach him. Why? That is also explained in Bhagavad Gita. Bhaktosi, because you are my devotee. Therefore, to understand Bhagavad Gita, the yoga system, one has to become a person of Krishna consciousness.
Therefore, to understand Bhagavad Gita, one has to become a person of Krishna consciousness. The more Krishna conscious one becomes, the more one can actually understand the Gita. So, okay, after hearing this history of the Gita, now Arjuna has a doubt. Arjuna uvacha aparam bhavato janma param janma vivasvataha katam etad vijaniyam tvamado proktavaniti. Arjuna said, the sun god Vivaswan is senior by birth to you. How am I to understand that in the beginning you instructed the science to him? Now, Prabhupada is raising a question in the beginning of this purport. Arjuna is an accepted devotee of the Lord. So how could he not believe Krishna's words? The fact is that Arjuna is not inquiring for himself, but for those who do not believe in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or for the demons who do not like the idea that Krishna should be accepted as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For them only, Arjuna inquires on this point as if he were himself not aware of the personality of Godhead or Krishna. So Arjuna is inquiring for the purpose of educating others. And further down, Prabhupada again writes, that Krishna is the supreme authority is accepted by the whole world, not only at present, but from time immemorial. And the demons alone reject him. Anyway, since Krishna is the authority accepted by all, Arjuna put this question before him in order that Krishna would describe himself without being depicted by the demons who always try to distort him in a way understandable to the demons and their followers. So therefore, when Krishna himself speaks about himself, it is auspicious for all the worlds. To the demons, such explanations by Krishna himself may appear to be strange, because the demons always study Krishna from their own standpoint. But those who are devotees heartily welcome the statements of Krishna when they're spoken by Krishna himself. The devotees will always worship such authoritative statements of Krishna because they're always eager to know more and more about him. Okay. So, so Arjuna is putting this question for the benefit of others. He himself is convinced. And so basically Arjuna wanted Krishna to speak about himself. But which sane gentleman would like to glorify himself? No one likes to glorify himself, right? Anybody who has some sanity would not like to glorify himself. So therefore, Arjuna, by asking this question, is inducing Krishna to speak about himself. And by that, everyone will benefit. That is the purpose. Okay. Now Krishna replies. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Bahuni me vyatitani janmani tava charjuna tanyam veda sarvani natvam vetta parantapa. The personality of God had said, many births, both you and I have passed. I can remember all of them, but you cannot, O subduer of the enemy. So Krishna says, yes, both of us were present when I spoke to Vivaswan. But the problem is what? You have forgotten. I remember. Now, in this purport and also in the next purport, Srila Prabhupada describes the differences between an ordinary jiva and the Supreme Lord. Okay, so let's make a list of differences. Somebody would like to come here and write?
Krishna is all knowing and Jiva's Paramatma. Jiva's don't know everything. Krishna is all knowing. About
Lord is predominator and we are predominated.
Supreme Lord is independent and Jiva is dependent on him. Mike.
We can use eat use mouth, but God uses all senses to.
No.
Prabhuji,
Limited power, unlimited power.
Sir, Prabhuji, Lord is Atmaram. Acha. Prabhuji, Lord is Atmaram. You are not. Yeah. Yeah. Lord is Atmaram in himself. It doesn't, his pleasure doesn't depend on anyone else. Like Jiva, even in liberated state, still its pleasure is dependent upon serving Lord. That's what I'm saying. Because they are called Atmaram because they are, at least at mental level, they're meditating on Lord in terms of that. At least I told at least on mental level. I said at least on mental level. I said anything, they are called Atmaram because they are in connection with Lord in any way. Lord is Atmaram. Is independent. Is independent enjoyer, is dependent enjoyer.
Jiva is a servant and then Lord is master. The constitutional position of the Jiva is servant, but constitutional position of God is master.
Lord is full in all six opulences. And very limited opulences Jiva exhibit.
Jiva is energy and Supreme Lord is energetic.
भगवान के जन्म मृत्यु नहीं होता है, हमारा जन्म मृत्यु होता है. Repetition बात है.
वासांसि जीर्णानि यथा विहाय.
Jiva is part and parcel. Lord is complete.
Whom?
Lord. Lord is not part and parcel. He is complete. Not need.
He's the source of pattern.
External energy works on the jiva, but not on the Supreme Lord.
Lord is Sarvagata. He's like he, but like not one jiva. Like jiva's consciousness can spread to throughout only his own body, but Lord's consciousness is all pervading, omniscient, omnipresent. क्षेत्रज्ञ च वा, सर्वक्षेत्रेषु. But one is limited, other is unlimited.
Who is all knowing, Prabhuji? And Prabhuji, is not all knowing, limitedly knowing. And Lord is omnipresent, He is present everywhere. But Jiva is limited. All knowing.
Lord is Purusha, we are Prakriti. Okay. Okay. Lord is one, we are many. Lord is one, we are many. No, but he's one personality. That is what is one person. We can't. I mean, jivas are many in compared to Lord, but Lord is in compare. There is only one Krishna. Okay, I'm not that scholar, but I heard it. And that was an Eko Bahunam Vijay or something that.
In conditioned state, Jiva forgets about his previous life. Yes. Lord not.
Hare Krishna. Okay, so we're proceeding now. So just a few statements from Srila Prabhupada's purport to the fifth verse. So Prabhupada writes, when Lord Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita to the sun god Vivaswan, Arjuna in a different capacity was also present. But the difference between the Lord and Arjuna is that Lord remembered the instant, whereas Arjuna could not remember. That is the difference between part and parcel living entity and the Supreme Lord. So then Prabhupada is explaining why Krishna calls him Parantapa. Parantapa means subduer of the enemy. So Prabhupada writes, although Arjuna is addressed herein as the mighty hero who could subdue the enemies, he is unable to recall what had happened in the various past births. So it's a sarcastic remark. You're Parantapa, you're such a big hero, but what is the use of your being big hero? You can't remember what you did in your past life. Therefore, a living entity, however great he may be in the material estimation, can never equal the Supreme Lord. Anyone who is a constant companion of the Lord is certainly a liberated person, but he cannot be equal to the Lord. So somebody may be Nitya Mukta also, but still Jiva is always Jiva. He cannot be equal to the Lord. Okay, fine. So now, from the 6th verse onwards, Krishna speaks about himself. So he is especially speaking about his Janma in the next verse. Ajo api san avyatma bhutanam ishwaropi san prakritim swamadhisthaya sambhavam yatma mayaya. Although I am unborn and my transcendental body never deteriorates, and although I am the Lord of all living entities, I still appear in every millennium in my original transcendental form. So here, Krishna is saying, Aja, Aja. First word is Aja. Aja means unborn. Api. So Krishna is saying, although I am unborn, and although I am avyaya, no deterioration. Krishna doesn't go through 6 changes, so there's no deterioration. And although I am bhutanam ishvaraha, I am the Ishvara, the Lord of all the living entities, but in spite of that, that means he is everyone's Ishvara. So he cannot be forced to come. He is Aja. First of all, he is Aja. He is unborn. Secondly, he is the Supreme Ishvara. So who can force him to come into this world? No one can force him. Therefore, Krishna says, although I am unborn, although I am the Ishvara of all the living entities, still I come. Still I come. But when he comes, how does he come? Prakritim swamadhisthaya. Prakritim. So as soon as the Mayavadis see this word Prakritim, they're very happy. See what Krishna is saying? When I come into this world, I take on a material form. Prakriti, it's written there, Prakriti. Correct? You accept or no? What Ujjwal Prabhu, you accept? This Krishna himself is saying, I come in my Prakriti, material form. But Krishna is only saying, that is okay. But here Krishna only is saying, I come in my material form, Prakritim. So therefore, this verse is also a favorite verse of the Vaishnavacharyas because they are very eager to defeat the Mayavadis. And so therefore, all the Vaishnavacharyas have extensively commented on this verse. So Prakritim Swamadhishtaya Sambhavami Atma Maya. See what Krishna is saying? Maya. So two words are there. Prakriti is there. Maya is also there. Two proofs, solid proofs to show that Krishna takes on a material form in this material world when he comes into this material world. Okay, so we will see some commentaries of the Acharyas also. But before that, let's read something what Srila Prabhupada has written. Okay, read the first few sentences.
Purport. The Lord has spoken about the peculiarity of his birth. Although he may appear like an ordinary person, he remembers everything of his many past births, whereas a common man cannot remember what he has done even a few hours before.
Hmm.
If someone is asked what he did exactly at what he did exactly at the same time one day earlier, it would be very difficult for a common man to answer immediately. He would surely have to dredge his memory to recall what he was doing exactly at the same time one day before. And
So
yet,
unless you have been doing the same activity.
and yet, men often dare claim to be God or Krishna. One should not misled by such meaningless claims. Then again, the Lord explains his Prakriti or his form. Prakriti means nature as well as Swarup or one's own form.
Yes, so here the word Prakriti means Krishna's own form. Swam, yes, Prakritim Swam Adishtai. Okay, again.
Or one's own form. The Lord says that he appears in his own body. He does not change his body, as the common living entity changes from one body to another. The conditioned soul may have one kind of body in the present birth, but he has a different body in the next birth. In the material world, the living entity has no fixed body but transmigrates from one body to another. The Lord, however, does not do so. Whenever he appears, he does so in the same original body by his internal potency.
So here the word Atma Maya and Prakritim refer to
Self.
internal potency. Internal potency.
In other words, Krishna appears in this material world in his original eternal form, with two hands holding a flute. He appears exactly in his eternal body, uncontaminated by this material world. Although he appears in the same transcendental body and is Lord of the universe, it still appears that he takes his birth like an ordinary living entity. And although his body does not deteriorate like a material body, it still appears that Lord Krishna grows from childhood to boyhood and from boyhood to youth. But astonishingly enough, he never ages beyond youth. At the time of battle of Kurukshetra, he had many grandchildren at home, or in other words, he had sufficiently aged by material calculations. Still, he looked just like a young man, 20 or 25 years old. We never see a picture of Krishna in old age because he never grows old like us, although he is the oldest person in the whole creation, past, present, and future. Neither his body nor his intelligence ever deteriorates or changes. Therefore, it is clear that in spite of his being in the material world, he is the same unborn eternal form of bliss and knowledge, changeless in his transcendental body and intelligence. Factually, his appearance and disappearance are like the sun's rising, moving before us, and then disappearing from our eyesight. When the sun is out of sight, we think that the sun is set. And when the sun is before our eyes, we think that the sun is on the horizon. Actually, the sun is always in its fixed position. But owing to our defective, insufficient senses, we calculate the appearance and disappearance of the sun in the sky. And because Lord Krishna's appearance and disappearance are like completely different from that of any ordinary common living entity, it is evident that he is eternal, blissful knowledge by his internal potency, and he is never contaminated by material nature.
Okay, so this example of the sun is very often given to explain the appearance and disappearance of the Lord. Why? Because just like the sun, so even though the sun sets, it's not that the sun has died or has disappeared forever. Only thing is, He has disappeared from our vision only to appear somewhere else. So that is how the Lord's pastimes and activities are always Nitya Leela. As soon as one activity is finished in one universe, that same pastime immediately takes place in another universe. So that is why this example of the sun is given. Okay.
The Vedas also confirm that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is unborn, yet he still appears to take his birth in multi manifestations. The Vedic supplementary literatures also confirm that even though the Lord appears to be taking his birth, he is still without change of body. In the Bhagavatam, he appears before his mother as Narayan, with 4 hands and the decorations of 6 kinds of full opulence. His appearance in his original eternal form is his causeless mercy bestowed upon the living entities so that they can concentrate on the Supreme Lord as he is and not on mental concoctions or imaginations, which the impersonalist wrongly thinks the Lord's form to be. The word Maya or Atma Maya refers to the Lord's causeless mercy. According to the Vishwakosh dictionary, the Lord is conscious of all his previous appearances and disappearances. But a common living entity forgets everything about his past body as soon as he gets another body. He is the Lord of all living entities because he performs wonderful and superhuman activities while he is on this earth. Therefore, the Lord is always the same absolute truth and is without differentiation between his form and self or between his quality and body. A question may now be raised as to why the Lord appears and disappears in this world. This is explained in the next verse.
Okay. So we are introducing one norm for the class. So all mobiles either switched off or silent mode. Okay. Otherwise, if anybody's mobile rings, they will have to distribute Mahaprasad to the rest of the class. Everyone agrees to follow the norm? Please raise your hands if you agree to follow the norm. Hey, Vittal Prabhu doesn't want to follow. What is the cause of your reluctance? Anyway, you take care of that. At least don't allow your mobile to ring. Okay, fine. So let's see a few commentaries on the verse now.
Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, 4.6.
Sorry.
Although I am without birth, I appear. I descend in the form of devas, humans, and crawling animals and other forms. But what is remarkable about that? The Jiva is also actually without birth and is born again after the destruction of the gross body.
So Krishna is saying he's Aja, but Jiva is also Aja. Correct. So therefore the question is being, so what's special about your birth? No, you are Aja, he is Aja, Jiva is Aja. What's special about you?
The Lord answers, I have an indestructible body. The
Avyaya Atma. Avyaya means indestructible.
The Jiva is without birth in the sense that he is a soul apart from his body. He takes birth just because of his relationship with the body, which produces ignorance. But my being without birth and my taking birth are not separate from my body, since I am the Lord. Both my birth and my not being born are integral to my Swarup. As such, a condition is difficult to occur. It is certainly astonishing and inconceivable. And there is no worry that I will take birth in all sorts of wombs like a jiva who is under the influence of papa and punya. For I am the Lord of all the living entities, Bhutanam Ishvara, not under the control of karma.
So the Lord says that yes, I also take birth. In various forms, in various bodies also I take birth. But what is the difference? What is the difference? That is one thing. Body and soul is same, that's one thing. Second thing, yes, not under karma, not under karma. So when the Lord appears in different forms, that is his Leela. But for Jiva, karmana deva netrena jantur deho papatyate. So for the Jiva, when he enters the wombs of different mothers, it's all happening under karma. Continue.
But the Jiva receives bodies of Deva, human, animal, according to karma by his subtle body, which causes his bondage. You, the Supreme Lord, are without a subtle body, and you are all pervading and control karma, time, and all other elements.
Okay, so as far as Lord is concerned, he controls karma. So how can he come under the control of karma?
The Shruti says, Bahu Sham, may I become many. From that, it is understood that you are the form of the whole universe. When you say, I appear in this particular way, I think that
must mean
that your birth means simply that you are revealing to people the multitude of bodily forms throughout the universe, which are also eternal as types.
Right. So basically, the avatar means what? The form is already there, only it descends. So the forms are all eternal, they only descend into this world.
But how can that be? I make my appearance situated in my own form, Prakritim Swam Adhishta.
Adhishtaya.
If the word Prakriti meant the external material energy, then its controller, the Supreme Lord, become by influence a material form, not a special object of realization.
Okay, so if Prakriti here meant material form, then what is the difference between Lord and the Jiva? Nothing special, correct? Lord also has material body, then what is the difference?
Therefore, in conformity to the Amar Kosh dictionary, meaning Samsiddhi Prakriti Toime Swarupam Cha Swabhavascha. The word Prakriti means Swarupa in this verse. It does not refer to the material energy which arises from his Swarupa. The Lord Swarupa is Sachidananda, full of eternal spiritual knowledge and bliss.
Okay, so Prabhupada also wrote that point. The word Prakriti here means Swarupa, his Sachidananda Swarupa.
Concerning the word Prakriti, Sridhar Swami says, accepting a form, Prakriti, which is composed of Shuddha Sattva, Swam. Ramanujacharya says, Prakriti means one's own nature, Swabhava. Thus the phrase means being situated in my nature. I appear with my Swarupa, Swam, by my own will. In this case, Prakriti means the Lord's nature, which is condensed Sachidananda Rasa, which is distinct from material energy. The word Swam, along with Prakriti, thus indicate my own Swarup, my true form.
Okay, so basically the word Prakriti here means the Lord Sachidananda Swarup, his own form, Sachidananda form or Shuddha Sattva form. So it all refers to the Lord's eternal spiritual form, not material Prakriti. Okay.
Madhusudana Saraswati gives the following meaning. I appear situated in my Swarupa. Being situated spiritually, I act without duality of soul and body. But if you have indestructible bodies such as Matsya or Kurma, then why do your present form and previous form not appear all at once?
Okay, so he's asking question. So all your forms are eternal, correct? Then why all your forms don't come at the same time?
I appear through my Maya coming from myself. Atma means self, thus Atma Maya means my own Maya. Through my Yoga Maya, the function of the Chit Shakti, which both covers and reveal my Swarupa. I appear revealing my present form, having covered the previous form.
Okay, so the answer is that the Lord's Yoga Maya reveals some forms and covers other forms. All forms are eternal, but the Yoga Maya, based upon the need of the situation and according to the will of the Lord, then some forms are revealed, some forms are covered. So this is happening by Yoga Maya. So therefore, The word Atmamaya also means Yogamaya.
Sridhar Swami says, Sambhavami Atma Mayaya means I appear by my energy of Jnana, Bala, Virya, which strongly manifest. According to Ramanuj, Atma Mayaya can also mean by my own knowledge, since Maya can mean knowledge in this context. Maya Vayunam Jnanam. The usage is stated, he continually knows the sin and piety of all entities by knowledge, Maya. Madhusudan Saraswati says, Maya means the awareness through the body, Atma, that I am the Lord, Vasudev, divide up difference between the body and soul.
So basically here, the word Atmamaya refers to the Lord's Yogamaya, his internal potency, his Chit Shakti. So basically the Lord, he appears in these different forms in full knowledge, So it's not out of ignorance that he's forced to accept a certain body. So it's all happening by his internal potency, out of his own will. Okay, fine. So this we have covered, differences between Supreme Lord. So this is how the Acharyas are explaining this verse. Okay, another Prabhupada's lecture, please read.
If you forget, then you are not God. The Mayavadi philosopher says that I am God, but I have forgotten myself that I am God. So how God can forget? Here it is the evidence. How God can forget? If you forget, then you are not God immediately. There is no other argument. God cannot forget. God remembers always. The Mayavadi philosopher says that I am God. Now I am under illusion of Maya. I have forgotten myself that I am God, and by meditation I shall become God. This is all nonsense. God cannot forget himself. Then he is not God.
Then he is dog. Okay. So now in this verse, in the 6th verse, Krishna explained how he appears. In the next 2 verses, he describes why he appears. So famous verses. Yada yada hi dharmasya gnani bhavati bharata abhyuttanam dharmasya tadatmanam srijamyaham. Whenever and wherever there is decline in religious practice, O descendant of Bharata, and a predominant rise of irreligion, at that time I descend myself. So Prabhupada writes, the word Srijami is significant here, and Srijami cannot be used in the sense of creation, because according to the previous verse, there's no creation of the Lord's form or body, since all the forms are eternally existent. Therefore, Srijami means that the Lord manifests himself as he is. Okay, so the word Srijami means the form manifests. It is not created, it just manifests. It is always present, eternally present. It manifests for some time, then it disappears. So that's the significance of the word Srijami. Although the Lord appears on schedule, namely at the end of the Dwapar Yuga of the 28th millennium of the 7th Manu in one day of Brahma, he has no obligation to adhere to such rules and regulations because he is completely free to act in many ways at his will. He therefore appears by his own will whenever there's a predominance of irreligiosity and a disappearance of true religion. And then Prabhupada is explaining what is dharma. Dharmam tu sakshat bhagavad pranitam. Huh? Okay. And then he's describing about the Vedas and Lord Buddha. Okay, so he's talking about some of these aspects of dharma. And then Prabhupada is explaining how dharma is always the same. Prabhupada's famous example, 2 plus 2 equals 4 is a mathematical principle. That is true in the beginner's arithmetic class and in the advanced class as well. Still, there are higher and lower mathematics. In all incarnations of the Lord, therefore, the same principles are taught, but they appear to be higher and lower in varied circumstances. This is the last paragraph. The higher principles of religion begin with the acceptance of the 4 orders and the 4 stages of social life, as will be explained later. The whole purpose of the mission of incarnations is to arouse Krishna consciousness everywhere. Such consciousness manifests and non-manifest only under different circumstances. Text 8. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya shadushkritam Dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavamai yuge yuge. Those who have seen the Mahabharat serial. How many have seen the Mahabharat serial? Good. I don't think so. It was televised when you were born, right? Huh? It was it? Doordarshan. Which year was it? Nay, it was surely not 99. Re-telecast. Acha, acha, acha. Okay. Because I remember that I was a child when it was first telecast. Ah, yeah, something like that, 84. Ah, yeah? Ah, ah. Okay. So anyway, he's spiritualizing everything. So anyway, this Sambhavama Yuge Yuge reminded me of that. That's how it would open, right? Right in the beginning. Hmm. Huh? Ah. Whose name? Acha. Ah. Ah. Acha. Uh-huh. Acha. Hmm. Acha. So this was later, huh? Or right in the beginning only? Right? Scripture. Mm-hmm. Sure. Good. At least some Sukriti you'll get, huh? Hmm. Okay, fine. So here Prabhupada describes who is sadhu and who is dushkrita. So Prabhupada in the beginning is writing, a person may appear to be irreligious, but if he has the qualifications of a Krishna consciousness, wholly and fully is to be understood to be sadhu. Prabhupada is referring to paritra apichet suduracharo, bhajate maam ananya bhav, sadhureva samantavya. He is referring to that verse. Therefore, he is writing this. Person may appear to be irreligious, but if he has the qualifications of Krishna consciousness wholly and fully, he is to be understood to be a sadhu. And dushkritam applies to those who do not care for Krishna consciousness. Foolish, lowest of mankind. He's given the examples of Ravana, Kamsa, and the demon harasses the devotee even though the latter may happen to be his kin, Prahlad Maharaj. And then here he's talking about the different types of incarnations, Purusha Avtaras, Guna Avtaras. And then finally talks about Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Okay, now at the end of the first paragraph, Prabhupada writes one important point. Yes, so Lord Krishna appeared primarily to deliver Devaki rather than kill Kamsa, but both were performed simultaneously. Therefore, it is said here that to deliver the devotee and vanquish the demon miscreants, the Lord appears in different. So Prabhupada explains in his lectures also that actually to kill the demons, Krishna does not have to come personally. Simply by his desire, Krishna can just give heart attack to Hiranyakashipu, Ravana, finished. But then where will be Leela? So therefore, Krishna performs the Leela, but then basically it is not for killing the demons. Basically it is for pleasing the devotees and showing all these wonderful pastimes to the devotees. Then devotees have so many things to talk about the Lord. So that is the primary reason. Killing the demons, that is secondary. So we'll just read these commentaries. Nice. Okay, read.
But your devotees, the Rajarshis and Brahma Rishis, can rectify the destruction of dharma and the increase of adharma. Then why is it necessary that you make an appearance?
So as far as Dharma Samstha is concerned, the devotees can do that, Raja Rishis, Brahma Rishis.
That is true, but I come and perform feats which are very difficult for others to do. That is expressed in this verse. I appear for delivering Tranaya, my dedicated devotees, Sadhunam, whose hearts are bursting with longing for me, who are suffering due to their devotion. For destroying the evil-minded persons like Ravana, Kamsa, and Keshi, who gives suffering to my devotees, and who cannot be killed by anyone except me. And for establishing in a firm way the supreme dharma of meditating on me, worshipping, serving me, and singing about me, which cannot be instituted by anyone but me.
Okay, so he's telling 3 points here why the Lord personally appears. The first is for the devotees who have the great longing to see the Lord, to hear about Him. That is the most important reason. They're suffering due to their devotion. So that is the main reason. And then, of course, the other reasons are to kill big demons like Ravana, Kamsa, who give suffering to the devotees, and also to establish the supreme dharma, paro dharma. So for these 3 reasons, he appears. But the first one is the primary one. Okay.
I do this in every yuga in the day of Brahma, or in every kalpa, day of Brahma. In this act, one should not worry that Lord is being prejudiced in punishing the evil-minded. By killing them, the Lord delivers even those most sinful asuras from samsara and from receiving hellish punishment due to their various sinful actions. The Lord's punishment in the form of killing should thus be seen as His mercy.
Okay, so even though the Lord kills, that is His mercy. Okay. Next verse. Janma karma chame divyam emam yo veti tatvatah tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti sarjuna. One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode, O Arjuna. So now, what does this tattvataha mean? That is important. Okay, so you can read from this, Prabhupada is quoting this Purusha Bodhini Upanishad, Eko Devo Nitya Nila Nurakto, Bhakta Myapi Ridi Antaratma. Read from there.
As stated,
The one
the
supreme.
one supreme personality of Godhead is eternally engaged in many transcendental forms and relationships with his unalloyed devotees. This Vedic version is confirmed in this verse of the Gita personally by the Lord. He who accepts this truth on the strength of the authority of the Vedas and of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and who does not waste time in philosophical speculation against the highest perfectional stage of liberation. Simply by accepting this truth on faith, one can, without a doubt, attain liberation. The Vedic version Tattvamasi is actually applied in this case. Anyone who understands Lord Krishna to be the Supreme, or who says unto the Lord, you are the same Supreme Brahman, the personality of Godhead, is certainly liberated instantly, and consequently his entrance into the transcendental association of the Lord is guaranteed. In other words, such a faithful devotee of the Lord attains perfection, and this is confirmed by the following Vedic assertion. Tameva viditvati mrittumeti nanyah pantha vidyate ayanaya. One can attain the perfect stage of liberation from the birth and death simply by knowing the Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and there is no other way to achieve this perfection. Quoted from Svetasatara Upanishad. That there is no alternative means that anyone who does not understand Lord Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead is surely in the mode of ignorance, and consequently he will not attain salvation simply, so to speak, by licking the outer surface of the bottle of honey, or by interpreting the Bhagavad Gita according to mundane scholarship. Such empiric philosophers may assume very important roles in this material world, but they are not necessarily eligible for liberation. Such puffed up mundane scholars have to wait for the causeless mercy of the devotees of the Lord. One should therefore cultivate Krishna consciousness with faith and knowledge, and in this way attain perfection.
So, what does Tattva mean? Everyone knows Janma Karma, right? So, just now we were discussing about Mahabharata and Krishna. How many people have seen that serial? Millions of people, correct? So, that means they all know Krishna's Janma and Karma. That is what they showed, right? They showed Krishna's Janma and Karma, right? Then they should all go back to Godhead. So what does Tattvata actually mean? So that's what Prabhupada is writing here. So right in the second sentence of the purport, one who can understand the truth of the appearance of the personality of Godhead is already liberated from material bondage. He doesn't have to wait for liberation. What? He's already liberated. And therefore, he returns to the kingdom of God immediately after quitting this present material body. But such liberation of the living entity from material bondage is not at all easy. So the impersonalists for them, Bhaunam, Janmanam, Ante. So what we just read, there Srila Prabhupada is explaining, what does Tattvataha mean? So therefore Prabhupada writes a few points. So he's quoting that Purusha Bodhini Upanishad. The one supreme personality of Godhead is eternally engaged in many transcendental forms. Just like in the Brahma Samhita, what is said? Advaitam, Achyutam, Anadim, Anantarupam. The one supreme Lord, he expands into many forms. But they are all Advaitam. They're all one. Many forms, but they're all one. So that is Krishna, simultaneously one and different. All other forms are Krishna, but at the same time, they're not Krishna. So this Vedic version is confirmed in this verse of the Gita personally by the Lord. He who accepts this truth, now this is the important statement. He who accepts this truth on the strength of the authority of the Vedas and of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and who does not waste time in philosophical speculation, attains the highest perfectional stage of liberation. Previously, Prabhupada is actually quoting that from Brahma Samhita, Advaitam, Achyutam, Anantarupam. Although there are many transcendental forms of the Lord, they are still one and the same Supreme Personality of Godhead. One has to understand this fact with conviction, although it is incomprehensible to mundane scholars and empiric philosophers. So as far as mundane scholars, empiric philosophers, what they think that, okay, the absolute truth is Supreme Brahman, but when he comes into this world in different forms, they are all material. They don't accept all these different forms as one and different from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. They think they're different from the Supreme Brahman. That is what most Mayavadis think. So Mayavadis think there is one Supreme Brahman, but when that one Supreme Brahman comes into this world in different forms, they are different from that one Supreme Brahman. And they take on a material body. Now, this is the understanding of most spiritualists. So therefore, Prabhupada is saying, so to understand that, no, it is not like that. All these various forms of the Supreme Lord are Krishna. that one supreme personality of Godhead. But still there is some difference. This is the meaning of Tattvataha. So one has to understand the Tattva of who is Krishna. Otherwise, Prabhupada says, some people think, oh, Krishna was a powerful person. He was a prince. He did some wonderful things. But no, he is the supreme absolute truth. The one supreme absolute truth. Eko dvitiyam nasti. The one supreme absolute truth. So this is the meaning of understanding in Tattvata. And one has to, as Prabhupada says, one has to understand with what? Conviction, with full faith. Then that is understanding Tattvataha. So it is not simply knowing Krishna just like one reads a novel about some great person and one knows, oh, this person was born in this place, he did this activity, he did this activity, he did this activity, and then he died. So somebody may read Krishna's stories also like that only. And one may be able to tell all those stories perfectly. But that does not mean that he knows Tattvataha. So Tattvata means understanding the spiritual importance, position of Krishna as the supreme absolute truth, the one without a difference. There's no second. Simply by accepting this truth on faith, one can without a doubt attain liberation. So that faith is very important. Okay. Again, Prabhupada says, in other words, such a faithful devotee of the Lord attains perfection. Right. So if one does not understand Krishna and still reads Bhagavad Gita, then it is like licking the bottle of honey from outside. Okay, let's read this.
Bhagavad Gita 4.9, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. You will be successful just by knowing in truth about my birth, which was previously described. And after my birth, my activities that is expressed in this verse. Ramanujacharya and Madhusudan Saraswati say that Divya means non-material, spiritual. Sridhar Swami says Divya means uncommon. As this means that it is not related to this material world. It also means spiritual. Being spiritual, beyond the gunas, means that the Lord's birth and activities are eternal. Jiva Goswami also explains, quoting from Bhagavatam in the Bhagavat Sandarbha, that the Lord has no material birth or activities. Or the word Divya can mean not approachable by logic or inconceivable on the strength of the words of Shruti and Smriti. The Purush Bodhini Shruti 4.3 of the Pippaladi branch of the Vedas
Prabhupada
says,
is also quoting the same thing.
Eko Devo Nitya Leelanurakto Bhakta Vyapi Bhakta Hridayantaratma.
Taratma.
The one Lord who is inconceivable, they were engaged in the eternal pastimes, is spread in the devotees and resides in the devotee's heart. The eternal nature of the Lord's birth and activities is mentioned frequently in the Bhagavatam as well.
So the word Divya has all these different meanings. What are the different meanings of the word Divya? Non-material, spiritual, uncommon, beyond the gunas, eternal, not approachable by logic, inconceivable. So all these are the different meanings of the word Divya. Janma karma jame divya. So all these different meanings are there. The other important word is Tattvata. Okay, continue.
Yo Vyakti Tattvata means he who knows that my birth and activities are truly eternal, based on my statements that I am unborn and with indestructible body, Ajopi San Avyatma, and that my birth and activities are non-material, Janma Karma cha me divyam, and not just an appearance of being eternal, dependent on some sort of trick. Yo Vyakti Tattvata can also mean one who knows me as the very form of Brahman. This is because later Krishna will say, Om Tat Sat Iti Nirdesho Brahmanas Trividha Smrita. The three words Om Tat Sat all indicate Brahman. Bhagavad Gita 17.18. Therefore, Tattva means the state of being Brahman. Tat. Yo Vyakti Tattvataha means one who know me as the form of Brahman.
So not just some ordinary powerful person, some great person. No, he is the supreme Brahman.
That person does not take birth again, but rather attains me. The word tyaktva, deham, only indicate the last condition of life. For not only on giving up the body, one does not take birth again, but even while not giving up the body, before that one attains me. The idea of this quotation is that something which pervades everywhere is inconceivable, deva or divya, according to the definition given to the word achintya in chapter 2.
Okay, so even before giving up the body, even in this life, one is actually in the spiritual world, if one knows the janma and karma of the Supreme Lord. Okay, that's the
Tattvatah, in truth, now here the word Tattvatah is very important. This Tattvatah is the science of Krishna. Tattvatah, in truth, simply by knowing by historical fact that Krishna is born in such and such date, in such and such place, in such and such family, he did such and such activity. No, one has to learn them in Tattvataha, in truth. Then he becomes free from this bodily entanglement. Now, how that Tattvataha in truth, the Krishna science, how one can understand Krishna science, that is explained in the 18th chapter. You will find this verse that Bhaktya Mam Abhijanati Yavan Yaschasmi. Tattvataha.
Okay, so the way to understand Tattvata is only by bhakti. Okay, so now in the next verse, Krishna says, in this way, those who understood Krishna's janma and karma after giving up this material body, they went back to the spiritual world. Don't think you're the first person to go back. In the past, also many went. That is what he's telling in the next verse. Vitaraga bhaya krodha manmaya mamupashritaha bahavo jnana tapasa puta madbhavamagataha. Being freed from attachment, fear, and anger, being fully absorbed in me and taking refuge in me, many persons in the past became purified by knowledge of me, and thus they all attained transcendental love for me. So Krishna is giving a sort of proof that in the past also, in this way, many people, they understood me and they attained madbhavam agataha. Now here in this purport, Srila Prabhupada very beautifully describes this raga, bhaya, and krodha. Okay, read.
As described above, it is very difficult for a person who is too materially affected to understand the personal nature of the Supreme Absolute Truth. Generally, people who are attached to the bodily conception of life are so absorbed in materialism that it is almost impossible for them to understand how the Supreme can be a person. Such materialists cannot even imagine that there is a transcendental body which is imperishable, full of knowledge, and eternally blissful. In the material concept, the body is perishable, full of ignorance, and completely miserable. Therefore, people in general keep the same bodily idea in mind, and when they are informed of the personal form of the Lord. For such materialistic men, the form of gigantic material manifestation is supreme. Consequently, they consider the supreme to be impersonal. And because they are too materially absorbed, the conception of retaining the personality after liberation from matter frightens them. When they are informed that the spiritual life is also individual and personal, they become afraid of becoming persons again. And so they naturally prefer a kind of merging into the impersonal void. Generally, they compare the living entities to the bubbles of ocean which merge in the ocean. That is the highest perfection of spiritual existence attainable without individual personality. This is a kind of fearful stage of life devoid of perfect knowledge of the spiritual existence. Furthermore, there are many persons who cannot understand spiritual existence at all. Being embarrassed by so many theories and by contradictions of various types of philosophical speculation, they become disgusted or angry and foolishly conclude that there is no supreme cause and that everything is ultimately void. Such people are in a diseased condition of life. Some people are too materially attached and therefore do not give up attention to spiritual life. Some of them want to merge into the supreme spiritual cause, and some of them disbelieve in everything, being angry at all sorts of spiritual speculation out of hopelessness. This last class of men take shelter to some kind of intoxication, and their affective hallucinations are sometimes accepted as spiritual vision. One has to get rid of all three stages of attachment to the material world: negligence of spiritual life, fear of spiritual personal identity, and conception of void that arises from frustration of life. To get free from these three stages of material concept of life, one has to take complete shelter of the Lord, guided by the bona fide spiritual master, and follow the disciplines and regulative principles of devotional life. The last stage of devotional life is called bhava, or transcendental love of God.
Okay, fine. So here, everyone understood this raga, bhaya, krodha? Prabhupada is nicely summarizing at the end. So raga attachment to material life also, one cannot understand the Supreme Lord, Tattvata. So that is the first category. As Prabhupada is at the end, he is summarizing three stages of attachment to the material world. First is negligence of spiritual life. So too much attachment to material life, then there's negligence of spiritual life. The second is what? Fear, bhaya, fear of a spiritual personal identity. So people think that, see, I got a form, I got a body, this body is so miserable. And after liberation, what? Again I have to take body. So I've already suffered so much now. I practice spirituality, I get liberation, then again I get body. Then we again suffering. So that causes fear. So that is the fear of a spiritual personal identity. So they don't understand that there is a spiritual form which is different from this material form. And the third is krodha. So people then they hear all these different types of philosophies, personalist philosophies, impersonalist philosophies. They hear all this and they get frustrated. Oh, what is correct? So, and the conception of void that arises from frustration in life, or that's one of the philosophy, void. Okay, everything is zero, everything finished. So people hear of these different philosophies and they get confused and disgusted and angry. So one has to give up all these three stages of material attachment. All are different stages of material attachment only, materialism. So Vita, Raga, Bhaya, Krodha. One has to give up all these three. Then the result will be Manmaya, Mamupashrita. Then one can take full shelter of the Supreme Lord and get purified, Puta and Madbhavam Agata. Next paragraph, Prabhupada talks about the 9 stages, Ado Shraddha to Prema. Okay, so this is the first section of the chapter. Okay, this is fine. Any questions on this? Good. We're going to the next section. Okay, one question.
Would you like Krishna says that he gave this knowledge to Bhavaswan. So do we understand that as per previous ages, it was never written. So it was always transferred. That's why we do not see any reference in other books.
Yeah, so that's why it's all just spoken, heard, Shruti. Yes. Okay, next section, 11 to 15. Krishna is the goal of all paths and the creator of Varnashram. 11. Ye yatha mam prapadyante tam stataiva bhajamyaham mama vartmanu vartante manushya partha sarvashaha. As all surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects, O son of Pritha. So Prabhupada begins his purport by saying, everyone is searching for Krishna in the different aspects of his manifestations. And then basically Prabhupada explains about how there are these different types of transcendentalists. So there are the Gyanis who want to merge into the impersonal Brahman. Then there are the devotees, and amongst the devotees also, there are devotees in 5 rasas. So according to how they want to reciprocate with Krishna, then Krishna reciprocates with them accordingly. Okay, so that's what basically what Prabhupada is explaining. So there are, yes, Gyanis, there are yogis, and there are bhaktas. So the yogis want mystic powers, so they get that. The Gyanis want impersonal liberation, they get that. Okay, so that's what basically Prabhupada is explaining. Now I'm reading almost towards the end of that first paragraph before the Akama Sarvakama verse. In other words, everyone is dependent for success upon his mercy alone. And all kinds of spiritual processes are but different degrees of success on the same path. Yoga ladder, different degrees of success on the same path. It's the same path, but there are different degrees of success. So when Prabhupada gives lecture on this verse, he gives example that just like if somebody wants to reach 100-storied, the 100-storied floor one wants to reach, then somebody may have climbed 5 stories, 10 stories, 50 stories, but real success is 100 stories. But all these are different steps towards reaching that 100th story. So same point he's telling here. So therefore Krishna says, Mama Vartmanu Vartante. Everyone are following my path only. Everyone is somehow trying to achieve the supreme only. But they're all at different stages. And ultimately everyone is searching for the supreme. They don't understand what is the supreme. But directly or indirectly, they're trying to attain the supreme. So those even gross materialists, whatever they may be doing, ultimately for what they're doing? For what they're doing? Huh? Yes, happiness, satisfaction. So that happiness and satisfaction is found only in Krishna. But they're trying to find happiness and satisfaction in material things. So that means they are also searching for Krishna only, actually. They don't understand how to find Krishna, but they are also trying to find Krishna only. But they're trying to find him in the material energy. But ultimately, it is the same thing. So therefore, Krishna is saying, ultimately, everyone is following my path only. And those who are transcendentalists, karma yogis, jnana yogis, ashtanga yogis, definitely they're on the path to the Supreme Lord. And therefore, Prabhupada is quoting akama sarvakama va moksha kama udarati. Okay, read this.
Bhagavad Gita 4.11, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Your dedicated devotees consider your birth and activities to be eternal, but others, such as Gyanis, surrendering to you for the purpose of perfecting Jnana or other goals, do not consider your birth and activities to be eternal.
Okay, so that's the connection. Okay, so janma karma chame divyam. As far as devotees are concerned, they accept that the Lord's birth and activities are eternal. But then others, they may not accept.
In whatever way they worship me, prapadyante, I also give them the fruits of their worship, bhajami, in an appropriate manner. The meaning is this: those who think that my birth and activities are eternal and having a particular desire for those pastimes, worship and please me. And I, because I am the Lord, can respond or not respond, or respond in different way than they expect. But making them my associates, I appear and disappear with them in this world at the appropriate time, in order to give my birth and pastimes their eternal nature. Favoring them at every moment, I bestow upon them the fruit of their worship. Therefore, not only devotees surrender to me, but rather everyone, Sarvasha, all men, Gyanis, Karmis, Yogis, and worshippers of the Devatas, follow my path. they surrender either directly or indirectly. Jnana, karma, and other processes are all my path, since I am the essence of all
those paths.
those paths.
Yes, so here he's saying that everyone, all men, jnanis, karmis, yogis, worshippers of devatas, all of them are following the path to the supreme only. Ultimately, everyone is trying to achieve the supreme, but then some are doing it directly, some are doing it indirectly. So those who are following the process of yoga, whatever yoga, that's a more direct path. But worshippers of the devatas and gross materialists, then they are following the indirect path, as Krishna will say in the 9th chapter. Avidhi purvakam, indirect. Of course, that is, they have no clue to achieve the supreme, but then ultimately they're trying to find satisfaction, right? Happiness and satisfaction. So one is actually supposed to find satisfaction in the supreme, but why they're trying to find satisfaction? Anandmayobhyasat is the nature of the soul to find happiness. And the supreme is full of happiness. So therefore, their search for happiness is ultimately for the supreme, but they don't know that. So therefore, it's an indirectly, they are also trying to find the supreme.
Another thing, this one very, very famous person said that all paths lead to same goal.
Yatamat tatapat.
Yatamat tatapat. So that, how is like, how to understand the difference between that? What Krishna is telling here, Mama Vartmane Vartante Manushya Partha. And
see, okay, somebody can answer that question. What is the fallacy of yatamat tatapat? हाँ विठल बोलो, माइक है आपके पास. Okay, somebody else?
Like if I have to go to Delhi, so we have to follow a specific route. That does not mean I can go close my eyes and follow any route. So similarly, if I have to get practice spiritual life, I have to follow what are the rules and regulations prescribed there. Not any path will lead to the same.
Yes, so see, everyone is trying to achieve the supreme, but then it does not mean that all paths will immediately lead to the supreme. Therefore, later on 9th chapter, what Krishna says? Yanti deva varda devan pitrin yanti pitrivrata bhutani yanti bhuteja madhyajino yanti. So, those who worship devatas will go to the abode of devatas. But then, even that, who are the devatas? Devatas are also part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. So therefore, indirect, that is indirect. That is indirect. But at the same time, it does not mean they're one and the same. Ultimately, so as we show, so yoga ladder, if they reach the Supreme, then it's good. It's all leading. Just like the same example of the staircase. So they're all trying to reach to the 100th floor. They're going by the staircase. So then somebody gets so tired, he's not able to go beyond 50th floor. Then what? Is he successful? No, he's not successful. If he becomes successful, well and good. But if he's not able to go to the top, what is the use? Correct. So therefore, there are all these processes, karma yoga, jnana yoga, ashtanga yoga, bhakti yoga, all are leading to the supreme. But then one should reach the supreme, na? So therefore, it is not that one takes any path and one will definitely achieve the supreme. So therefore, the point is that they're all leading to the supreme, but at the same time, it does not mean that I can do anything and I will achieve the supreme. That philosophy, yatamat tatapat, yatamat tatapat. Yatamat, mat means what? My concoction. I can concoct any path, result will be the same. So how can I concoct any path and the result will be the same? Here, at least we are talking about bona fide path.
That's what my question is. We are talking about only in the yoga ladder.
Yes, we are talking about the bona fide paths only. So, and those which, and there are so many other concocted paths also. Correct?
Yes.
So many, millions of them, concocted paths.
So when Krishna is telling that Mama Vartmano Vartante, that means he's talking only about the bona fide process of karma, jnana.
In general, yes. But then, as Vishwanath Chakravarti is saying, all men, he is generalizing it a little more because ultimately everyone is trying to achieve the supreme. But then, at least there must be some bona fide process. Not that I concoct any nonsense and ultimately I'll achieve the supreme. Not like that. As far as Srila Prabhupada's commentary is concerned, Srila Prabhupada is talking only about the bona fide paths of karma, jnana, yoga, bhakti, and the different rasas within bhakti. He's only talking about the bona fide paths. And even demigod worship, that's also bona fide. Right? But then that's indirect. Okay? Fine. So then, so yeyathamam prapadyante. So Krishna is saying, whatever path, however you come to me, I reciprocate accordingly. Then the next question arises, so then why some are worshipping the devatas? Why they can't worship Krishna directly? Krishna is saying, I'll reciprocate. Then why they were going to the demigods? Next verse. Kangshanta karmanam siddhim yajanta iha devata kshipram hi manushe loke siddhir bhavati karmaja. Men in this world desire success and fruitive activities and therefore they worship the demigods. Quickly, of course, men get results from fruitive work in this world. Okay, so why they worship the demigods? Because they want some quick results. Crash course. They want quick results and they're interested in fruitive activities. Kangshanta. They have these desires. Kangshanta karmanam siddhim. So because of this desire to get fruitive activities, fruitive results, so therefore, and they want them quickly, therefore they worship the devatas. Now we're not getting into worship of devatas because Krishna speaks elaborately about them in the 7th and the 9th chapters. But Prabhupada concludes the purport by saying, this verse indicates that people are rarely interested in Krishna consciousness. They are mostly interested in material enjoyment and therefore they worship some powerful living entity. Of course, Prabhupada is talking about worshipping even some so-called leaders or big guns in order to achieve temporary boons. And indeed, they achieve such things, but they are not interested in Krishna consciousness. 13. Chaturvanyam maya shrishtam gunakarma vibhagashaha tasya kartaram apimam vidya kartaram avyayam. According to the 3 modes of material nature and the work associated with them, the 4 divisions of human society are created by me. And although I am the creator of the system, you should know that I am yet the non-doer, being unchangeable. So Krishna is saying, yes, I created the system, but I am not affected by the system. So Krishna doesn't belong to any varna or ashram. Even though apparently it appears he was in the Vaishya community, Nanda Maharaj, or later on Kshatriya community, Yadus. But Krishna is beyond all this, even though he has created the system. And of course, in our previous discussions, we already discussed why he created the system. So, yes, that's exactly what we're going to discuss. Okay, read this.
Indeed, the path of the bhakti and the jnana give liberation, but the path of karma leads to bondage. Therefore, there is some inequality in you, the creator of all paths, the Supreme Lord.
So that is the connection. So previously Krishna said, Yeyatha mam prapadyante. I reciprocate according to how a person surrenders. But then the fact is what? Paths of bhakti and jnana give liberation. Path of karma leads to bondage. Correct? So then it appears there is some inequality. It's not that Krishna is reciprocating in the same way with everyone. He's reciprocating with everyone, but not equally with everyone. So why is this so? Ye yatamam prapadyante. Why is this so? That is the question. And he's replying. Okay. Again.
That is not so at all. I have created the four varnas for people who want their own enjoyment. The suffix ya in the word chaturvarna indicates the self-interest in the four orders. The Brahmanas, predominated by sattva, performs activities such as controlling the senses and mind. The Kshatriya, who are predominated by rajas and sattva, performs actions such as warfare and acts of heroism. The Vaishya, predominated tamas and rajas, do farming and raise cows. The Shudras, predominated by tamas, serve others. I have created this system of four varnas divided according to guna and activity. Taking shelter of the path of dharma, know me as the creator, Kartaram, of the system, since it is created from the gunas of Prakriti, which is my energy. In that way, I am the creator, but actually I am not the creator, since my Swarupa is beyond the gunas and Prakriti. Therefore, I am said to be
indestructible.
Avayam. I am not at all similar to the varnas or matter through I have created them.
Okay, so Krishna is saying that, see, some get bondage, some get liberation. Is it Krishna's partiality? No. It is because the different living entities are being influenced by three modes differently. And why the living entities are being influenced by three modes differently? Yes, because of different desires. So because different living entities have different desires, based upon the desires, there's influence of three modes. And then based upon the influence of three modes, they perform different activities. So those who are like jnanis, bhaktas, they're more in sattva. Then those who are karmis, they're more in rajas and tamas. So because of the difference in the influence of three modes, then there are different activities. And because there are different activities, then Krishna reciprocates accordingly. And they get different results. Right. And so, why Krishna has created this Chaturvarnyam, Maya Shrishtam? Why he has created this Varnashram system? Because in this world, material world means what? Three modes. So everyone is influenced by three modes. Correct? Everyone is influenced by three modes. So now, there has to be a system by which these people are influenced by three modes, they can gradually make spiritual progress. Correct? There has to be a system by which, even though they are influenced by the modes, they should be able to make some spiritual progress. Because what is the ultimate goal of the entire creation? What is the goal? Huh? Yes, the ultimate goal is purification and liberation. That is the ultimate goal of this entire creation. But these people, because of the influence of three modes, they're bound. Now, if you tell these people, from tomorrow, give up all your sense enjoyment. Is it possible? No. So therefore, Krishna has created a system by which these different people, because of the influence of modes, have got their different psycho-physical nature. They got their different propensities, their different desires. So then Krishna says, okay, no problem. You have all these desires, propensities, simply engage them in my service. You continue to do your work according to your propensities, but give the results to me. And that's how you will get purified. So because there are these different living entities with different desires, and they're being differently influenced by the modes, therefore Krishna has created the system by which they can purify themselves and ultimately go on to the path of liberation. Is this clear? Fine. And as far as Krishna, this is all due to influence of three modes. That means external energy. But as far as Krishna is concerned, Krishna is not influenced by the external energy. His Swarupa is not influenced. So therefore, Krishna says, I have created this Varnashram, but I am not influenced by this Varnashram. So, now in the next verse he says, Namam karmani limpanti, na me karma phale spriha, iti mam yo bijanati, karma bhir na sabhadyate. there is no work that affects me, nor do I aspire for the fruits of action. One who understands this truth about me also does not become entangled in the fruitive reactions of work. So in the previous verse, Krishna said, I am not influenced by this varnashram. Why? Now in this verse, he says, why is not influenced? Namam karmani limpanti. And the work that he does, he's also doing work, but it does not affect. Why? Name karma phale spriya. Because he performs all activities, but he has no material desires. He does not desire for the fruits of his activities. Name karma phale spriya. Correct? He has no material desires. He has no desire for fruits. And because he has no desire for fruits, therefore he is not bound by the activity. Bondage comes due to what? Attachment to fruits. That is the cause of bondage. So Krishna says, I am not attached to the fruits. Therefore, I am not bound by this varnashram. And those who know this about me, iti mam yo abhijanati karma bhinna sabadya, they will also not be bound. So you see how Krishna is so expert. So Arjuna asked him a question, correct? What question Arjuna asked? In the beginning of the 4th chapter. How you spoke to the sun god, we are equals. Then Krishna was forced to speak about himself, correct? Now Krishna expertly, he spoke something about himself. Now he brought back the topic to the original topic. What was the original topic that was going on? Huh? Nishkam Karma Yoga. Now once again Krishna comes back to Nishkam Karma Yoga. So now Krishna is saying, see, why I am not affected by this varnashram, why I am not bound by all this? Because I perform my activities without attachment to the fruits. So therefore, what you must do? You also must do the same thing. You also must perform Nishkam Karma Yoga, then you will also not be bound by your karma. So that is how Krishna is once again bringing back the topic of Nishkam Karma Yoga. And you can read this purport. Prabhupada is giving some nice examples of how one is not responsible if one is not attached to the fruits. And the last verse of the section, 15. Evam gyatma kritam karma purverapi mumukshubhi kuru karmeva tasmatvam purve purvataram kritam. All the liberated souls in ancient times acted with this understanding of my transcendental nature. Therefore, you should perform your duty following in their footsteps. So Krishna is saying many persons in the past, purver api mumukshubi, great personalities, they attain liberation. How? By performing Nishkam Karma Yoga, following in my footsteps. Therefore, what you must do? You must follow in their footsteps and do what? Nishkam Karma Yoga. Then you will also be liberated. So in this way, once again, Krishna comes back to inspiring Arjuna to perform his prescribed duty without attachment to the fruits. That is Nishkam Karma Yoga. And now, from the next verse onwards, Krishna further analyzes Nishkam Karma Yoga. Okay, so that we will discuss tomorrow. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Samved Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Thank you very much.